this meeting to order. Shelby County Supervisors, April 2nd, 2024. Do you have any conflict of interest, gentlemen, on the
None.
agenda today? Do I have a motion? Mark, any additions or things off the agenda today?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion approved.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Had a chance to look over the minutes from March 19th. Any corrections there, Mark, at all? Motion to approve the minutes as presented from March 19th.
Motion.
Motion by Bryce, second by Charlie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Had a chance to look over this past month's claims. Any questions?
None.
Motion to approve the claims as presented.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. At this time, I'll recess the regular meeting, and I need a motion to open up the public hearing for public comments on the sale of the annex building.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Bryce, second by Charlie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Okay, it's been probably a month or so ago, part of our budget process, we, instead of raising property taxes to fund our capital projects, we have a building right west of the courthouse here called the Annex Building that we're looking at putting up for sealed bids on the market, get it back on the tax roll. When the building was initially put in use and purchased by the county back in 80s or 90s, we needed the room.
Late 90s.
Now we do not. There's no county department in the Annex Building. And so we're looking at putting that up for the market. That's the reason for that. And I will say I've had several comments to me about it, and all been positive. So I don't know if anybody here today wants to speak about it, has any comments about it. That was the reason for the meeting. Okay, I do have a question from Marcus. Marcus is working on a public notice, and he sent me a draft. And one of the things I was wondering, is that customary? Do we have another public hearing right ahead of that, or does this one do that?
No, this one, if you resolve to sell it today and take sealed bids, that would suffice to be the public hearing.
Okay.
And then you'll have the opening of the bids.
Yeah, we'll have the opening of
Then
bids.
you'll approve the sale and issuance of the quitclaim deed.
Okay. So what we're looking to do is on June 4th, we're looking to open bids, and we're setting the minimum bid of $265,000. That is our minimum appraised value for the building. We will not sell it for anything less than that. And there are 3 tenants in that building now. And part of the contract we would like to do, want to make sure that's in there, that the new owner will honor those contracts until their time is up. I think they're from 2 to 5 years in there. And so, there's, Mark, do you remember roughly what the income is? Is it per month or
I think it
per
was
year?
between 40 and 45,000 a year
Okay.
income.
Okay. Yep. And that's probably taking in the neighborhood, I'm not going to say exactly, half the building or something like that.
Right, there's a
There's
large section of the
section
building.
Building out.
Yep.
And it's been very well taken care of. So, Marcus, do you have anything to add to that?
I think that's it.
Okay. We'll be taking, we'll get into that more as we go ahead, but we'll be taking sealed bids, like for how long?
Well, the sealed bids are due by 5 p.m. the day before the June 3rd, I guess it would be, and into the auditor's office. So along with the 10% earnest money down payment, that'll be due with the sealed bids.
Okay.
And then we're looking at closing by June 30th.
Okay. Then normally, I don't remember what we did. We'd sold that lot up at Erling, also on sealed bids. How far in advance do we put it out there for people to submit bids? Do you remember, Mark?
I could look back.
Yeah, I don't remember for
Yeah,
sure how
okay.
long before that, but I would say the more the better. But
Yeah, I would agree, because we're getting a pretty decent jump on this.
right.
Okay, do you have anything else to add?
No, that's
Mark,
it.
do you have any other concerns?
No.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else from the public have any comments? Okay. I'll go ahead and close the hearing. Do I have a motion to close the hearing?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Thanks for participation there, guys. Review appointments for the medical examiner position.
Oh, Steve, I think we
Okay.
need to do a resolution to sell it as sealed bids in the open meeting.
Okay, okay. Then I'll go back. We closed the hearing, and do I have a motion to put the annex building up for sale with sealed bids to be open on June 4th?
Motion.
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Thank you, sir. Review appointments of medical examiner position. I think I seen Jenny out there. Come on up here, young lady. How are you today? Good morning.
How are you?
Good. Take a chair.
Morning, Jenny.
We just need to just adjust the roster a little bit
Okay.
for death investigators. We're gonna add Cassie Bogey. She lives over by Portsmouth, so that'll kind of give us a responder on that side of the county. And then there were two that we needed to remove,
I'm just gonna ask you that. Okay.
Nella Seibert and Lori Greeby.
Okay, and everybody's on board with this?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
Dr. Markham appreciates all the extra nursing help, because he used to
Absolutely.
respond to all those by himself, and now the nurses do that, and it's just really helped
Okay.
our
Okay.
response time.
Okay, thanks for bringing that to our attention.
So she has 2 years before she needs to take a death investigator class, but she'll be with the other staff to learn all that.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
You guys have any questions?
I've got this. Just want to wait a second. That way we're done.
Yep.
Do I have a motion to approve the Kathy Bogey appointment and removal of Nell and Lori?
Motion. Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Did you just sign these quick?
Yep,
We'll
Thank you very much.
send her on her way.
yep. There you go.
Thanks,
Yep.
appreciate it. Vote for me?
Yep. Either one. Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay. Jordan, EMS report. Good morning, sir.
Morning.
Good morning.
Hi, Jordan.
How are you guys?
Good, how are you?
All right, so we have quite a bit to go. Hold on some stuff. So this is our detailed expense
Okay.
on here. So you can see, we've got fuel and office supplies and IFRS and insurance and education and uniform and all
So
of
this, now it's pretty up to date.
all of the things.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is up to date as of yesterday.
Okay.
So we are at $337,000 spent, which is a good number.
So we have a remaining balance of 337. So you feel we're, I know it's been a kind of a roller coaster because we've only had, what, going into 5 months?
Yeah.
Kind of staying within our budget, on track.
We're currently about $80,000 under budget.
Okay.
So,
For April 1st.
yep.
Okay.
So if you look at the sheet I just handed out, we'll start at the top.
Okay.
Adam McCall was an EMT. He graduated from his paramedic program. He's got license through the state and his national license, so he's operating as a paramedic rather than an EMT. Lori Grieving was a paramedic. Her last day was Sunday. She has moved to Shelby, closer to family, so it's good for her.
What are you doing there?
We're not replacing her. We wanted to be at 6 paramedics, and we would be at 7 if we replaced her, since Adam went from an EMT to a paramedic. So
Oh,
we're just
okay.
gonna
Okay. Okay.
leave that how it is. We have a lot of people that are working all of the call shifts right now, because we have 3 of our full-time members that work or live outside of a 40-minute response time. So something that I've been looking at is offering those that live outside of a certain distance a stipend to come sit and do nothing until they have
To be on call.
Basically be on call there, so that way they get something if they don't end up having to work.
Right.
Because, we've got 5 that live within Harlan or a short enough response time. And the benefits of those 5 is that they can go out to eat and sleep in bed and whatever else. These
Well, I
other
think that would
3
help keep the overtime down too.
Right, and these other 3 are a long ways away. So,
Okay.
looking at that, we started one of the big things that the advisory council and I think all of us wanted to do is engage the volunteers as much as possible in this process. So we've started doing a monthly training with the volunteers. We did one in March at our...
Who's we?
So the county.
Okay.
So the county is doing volunteer training.
You.
They're getting training, but
Okay.
the paid staff is getting training, but it's also training for the volunteers. It's getting out into
Do
the
you and
volunteers.
Alex do that?
So I do. So I did the first one. We did it in Harlan at the ambulance base. The next one will be on the 18th of this month in Shelby. The hospital's putting on a trauma class through UNMC. They're going to do it in Shelby. I already sent an email to all the volunteers so that they know when it is. The goal is to engage and help the volunteers in any way, shape, or form. So that was it was a very good training. People liked it. So with that, on the 18th, I'm going to open up to the volunteers and it's there to see if we have volunteer staff that's interested in working any shifts that we might have open that we can maybe help mitigate some
That'd be
overtime.
great.
Oh, really great.
So we're going to have a conversation with them on that. The ambulance bay is done now. We took 5 dumpsters out. We moved things around. We now have a enclosed storage area. I could still put a door on it, but other than that, it's done. Part of the training that we did on the 3rd and the 20th of last month was showing them what we have for supplies, what we're offering to them. My goal is to offer them as much as physically possible. I'm not going to do baby aspirin and Band-Aids, but aside from that, the goal is to offer them as much as possible. And we've given out 3 things so far, but if we start actually giving stuff out, I'll bring
Keep
a
it in
report.
there.
I might keep a report of everything we give out, and if we start actually giving out a decent amount, I'll let you guys know. I think we'll be well within. I'm not worried about budget-wise. I'm giving stuff out for them.
So sort of, did you build that in-house with your guys? Thank you. I stopped down there when you were in the middle of it, and looking
Yeah, it
good.
looks real good.
But it looks a lot better now. There's not stuff everywhere.
No, but it's a great improvement.
It's significant.
Yep.
So there's a lot more room now. You can get in and out of the squads without hoping you don't fall and break an ankle. And so
It's a work in progress.
Back door.
right, yeah. So we got a pressure washer down there. We got new beds. A couple of different chairs that don't have springs coming through the middle of them. We're trying to make the environment down there somewhere you want to come work rather than not. We've ran 411 calls as of yesterday, which means we're
Since
averaging
January
about
1.
since December 1. Yep. So we're running about 102 calls a month, or 3.5 calls a day.
Is that where you expected?
I don't know that we really sat down and looked at it.
Okay.
What
do you know from what medevac had done in the past?
Well, like January we ran 129 calls. That was the most they ever ran.
Wow.
So last month we ran 76. So it's one of those things that's going to fluctuate.
I've heard nothing
with
but
weather
positives from the
and
public.
whatever. Well, and that's the goal.
Me too.
Yep.
So with that, 71.11% of our runs come between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. So I know that one of our goals, like initially, was, hey, let's run 2 crews 24/7. That's the end goal. Well, my proposal would be, instead of running 2 crews 24/7, we can save on some overtime and some costs by running 1 crew 24/7 and 1 crew 12 hours a day from 8 to 8. And then that way, it'll cut back on some hours. Hopefully we can have maybe 1 or 2 less staff than what we initially planned at 13. And that could be a way to cut down some overtime or salaries and benefits too, while covering the bulk of our runs.
Plus, I would think too, then when it's in the evening, you have the volunteers as a better backup.
Correct.
Because they're
So, and that's something we'll need to sit down with volunteers.
Right.
especially
Yeah, everybody has to be on
and
board.
Talk with them and see if
Yeah.
it's something they're interested in. And maybe we can just have 1 paramedic on call, and then have somebody, have an EMT from
Yeah.
Harlan assist or whatever. There's a lot of different
Yeah.
possibilities that we can look
I
at.
appreciate you
Glad you're looking
outside the box.
yeah.
Exactly.
So now we're down to some budget stuff. So one of the things that the advisory committee has been looking at hard is how to cut overtime and different things. So I'm all for saving on the budget, cutting overtime, things like that. However, with that being said, I'm also for making sure that, number 1, we have happy staff, and number 2, we have the staff to cover the county. If we start cutting hours, 12 hours a week, I know that we're going to lose a minimum of 4 staff. So with that, if you look right in the middle of the page, as it sits as of April 1st, we are $23,000 under budget for what we budgeted initially on salaries and benefits.
That's revenues already come in.
Correct. So we're $23,000 under budget on salaries and benefits. So if you look at the line below, revenues versus expenses, our revenues are only at $362,000. On our budget, we had anticipated revenues to be another $85,000 to $90,000 more. That was simply because we anticipated that we would have revenues coming in February, which I was very open off the bat that would not happen. So here is our ambulance billing company's financial report for us as of, it says it goes through the 31st, but this was actually the very beginning of last week. If you want to look at that, Mark, you can.
Thank you.
They have billed out $617,000 in calls. There's a contractual adjustment of $67,000, so we have $550,000 out there. In bills, we've received $33,000 and some change. So we still have $516,000 out there. Of that, we can expect to receive between 60 and 70%. She said 65 is a pretty solid number. The numbers that I used were based on 60% because some others look lower than high. So with that being said, we have expected revenues by the end of March of another $309,000, which puts us on track to be.
Do you think they'll come in that fast?
Yeah. Yep.
So next time we talk, for the next month, we're going to have an idea.
And I only say that because that's what PCC told me. I personally have no clue. So if it's wrong, it's
Well, we're
wrong.
gonna find
She said
out.
typically between 14 and 21 days.
Okay.
They started really bulking up about a week ago. So I'm hoping by the end of this month we should see a large portion of that. So if you look, I didn't bring it because it's so many pages, but if you look on our initial budgeting, we budgeted to have our goal, since we leapfrogged into this at 18 months early, was to have roughly $10,000 in our account by the end of June. We are currently averaging $20,000 a month under budget, and we have revenues that are coming in at an average of $82,000 a month rather than $58,000. So we could potentially be
That's all good.
$100,000 ahead of budget at the end of June.
Yep.
So my proposal currently is that we don't rush into changing some overtime things and things like that, and that I sit down and look at the schedule and see about a good opportunity to start running a crew and a half rather than looking forward to 2 full crews and different things, and trying to sit down and figure out a way that we can start leapfrogging to where we want to be, and see what that schedule can look like.
Yeah, because if we can be more efficient in overtime, we have to go there.
Absolutely, and I want to do that. The benefit or the fortunate thing we have right now is that even with the overtime we have, we're still averaging $7,000 a month under budget on salaries and benefits.
Because once we start receiving, our first payment is going to come September, October.
October probably.
The first tax one, and the next one will be like a year from now, in April or so. Then we have to start putting money away to buy ambulances and stuff.
Absolutely.
And so we want to be under budget, but we also have to be as efficient as we can. with
Correct.
that
We owe it to
overtime.
the taxpayers.
Right.
Yeah, you do.
I agree 100%.
So there's a
And-
balance in between there.
Correct, and at the same time, we owe the taxpayers an efficient response, and if we start losing a bunch of people, we're not going to have that efficient
Yeah,
response.
well,
Agreed.
So I think, I just want to make sure we're looking at everything and.
Employees have to
wanna-
remember too, though, when they were hired, they weren't hired guaranteed so much overtime.
Correct,
Right.
and I just, my biggest thing is I don't want to
Plus-
leapfrog right away into something.
Plus, I want to see these employees not have to put in so much overtime so they can spend some time at home with their families.
Mhm.
And
And it's
that's
not,
value.
that 48 hours, 2 days a week isn't the problem for them. They enjoy just being able to work 2 shifts and going home. The problem is we have so much callback right now. It's the on-call that they don't
Right.
like.
Right.
Because, if
Which
you were-
amounts to overtime.
Right, it amounts to a lot of overtime. So if we can figure out a way to run, if we can run, if they're working 48 hours a week, we can cut way back on call time. We're still saving overtime one way or the other. There was a number out there, like roughly $140,000 that we have in, you can call it guaranteed overtime, working 48s in a week. And then another number out there is we're going to spend roughly $100,000 in overtime just on patient transfers out of the hospital alone. So, I think there's several ways to skin this cat. I think we need to look at all of the ways before we just jump into anything.
Agreed.
Okay. One thing I would like to see moving forward when you bring the budget to us in a monthly meeting is I'd like to have it something instead of, I'm not so interested in the line item, not the.
You just want a
detail.
monthly expense revenue.
Yeah, I want to see the
Yep.
budget, each month expense, and what's remaining at the end.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and I can do that. I think once we get a bunch of revenues in, it will help, because right now there's not.
Yeah, and the
there's
revenue
not
part,
a
not just
big
expenses.
difference between the two.
So that way it's a quick glance and
Yep, I
you
can
can
do.
see. Okay. You guys have any other?
No, appreciate you,
Think you're doing a good job.
appreciate you diving into this.
Yeah, we took a full, in the last 3 weeks, we've been spending a lot of time with it. It's been getting everything done and ready. And so I just haven't been at my desk a lot, but this last week has been
And
quite a bit of time.
from now on, we're gonna have you as a report beginning of the month.
Yep.
But if something comes up, that something needs to be addressed or taken care of, you get hold of Mark or myself, so you can be on, meeting in between. Don't wait a month.
Right,
To do
nope,
something.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, works for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Do we have any department head reports?
I do.
Okay.
Election season's gearing up, and there's trainings tomorrow for my staff. One will be there. Absentee ballot applications are available now in the county auditor's office. Eligible electors may call or stop in to receive one of those absentee ballot applications. And I want everybody to know we cannot send out the ballots until starting May 20th. We can't just, because people, they put in the application, they call in 2 weeks later, where's my ballot? Well, we gotta wait till the 20th of May to send any in the mail. And we must receive the ballot by 8 p.m. on the day of the election. Most of the precinct election officials have been appointed and committed, and training for those officials are being scheduled. The initial ballot order to the printer has been submitted. We're now waiting for the ballot proofs to be received. The IT department has been notified and confirmed that the computers will be updated as mandated by Iowa code before election use. New programming for the computers was installed and tested last fall, just in the Harlan location. and full implementation of the new software will take place during this primary. Last fall, we experimented just at the Harlan locations and things went smoothly as they could for our first try. Now Shelby, Erling, Elkhorn, and Irwin will all have the same system as the Harlan polling location. We implemented this at the Harlan polling locations for the reason that IT and election help was on site most of the day, and if there were any issues, they wouldn't have to travel to get things fixed. Everything would be timely. We're just slowly gearing up for full election vote, which will be, it's June 4th is the primary election. And remind everybody, you have to declare a party to vote in this election. That's another common problem. They come in and want to vote, and they're no party, and you have to declare a party so they know what ballot to get.
You have to declare where the party's at.
That's right, you gotta know where the party's at, and which one you want to vote. And you're welcome to vote any party. There's 3 parties in the primary in Iowa this year, and you just declare for one of the parties that day, and they'll hand you the ballot for that party.
Okay, good. Anybody have a department report? Is Neil out there?
Yep.
Come on up here, sir. Good morning, how are you?
Good. How are you guys doing today?
Morning.
Good. I hear you have a little announcement for us today.
I don't know if it's me so much as I'll invite Dean to speak to it a little bit, but
Okay.
it was a combination, I feel like,
Okay,
between
yeah,
us. So
it's a great announcement.
I'll let him kind of do the speaking to it a little bit.
Okay,
As I don't even know if you've seen this yet.
I haven't seen it.
I had the opportunity, there's an annual conference that I attend amongst my peers across the state. It's an annual professional development conference. We submitted a nomination for consideration as a program of the year that's looked at each year. And with our partnership and collaboration with the county, with law enforcement, in a few weeks here, we're coming up on our first year already.
We are.
April 15th. And Sheriff Gross can attest to, and I certainly can attest to, that although it took some courage to make a change, I've termed it, I think we've termed it the perfect storm.
Yeah.
It certainly has gained awareness, not just in the law enforcement field, yet across many of our functions, that moving forward, how we can continue to collaborate and cooperate, no matter what functions those may be. And Sheriff Gross, as well as myself, again, we'd submitted a nomination for consideration, and there's been no less than 15 other either counties or communities that have reached out to us in the last year to say, why, how, and
how's it going?
yes, and how's it going? And from when this announcement was made last week, and I received this at the conference, as you might expect, there was no less than 2 hands and 2 feet of other individuals, be it administrators or staff in those communities, saying, we want to talk with you further.
Yeah.
Because it's not so desirable to have to make change, because we're comfortable how things are. Yet learning from what we've experienced and where we're at is certainly something of interest of others. So wanted to share this with you today. I'll be sharing this with the City Council tonight, and then our League of Cities will put out a publication and announcement, I believe, next month, and we'll certainly get that to the press. So
I'd
I
like to
appreciate
say,
the ongoing partnership.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate it.
Going
Because
well.
this type of arrangement won't work for everybody because of the people involved with this program.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
It's
Yeah.
multifaceted, and you're right, it takes
Yeah.
people and boards, and again,
Willingness to work.
willingness, and it took some courage. Overall, we see things are going well. Things that haven't gone well, we've sat down and
Work through
worked
them.
through those.
Yeah.
So that's,
Yeah,
so
Awesome.
appreciate the board and certainly Sheriff Gross and his team, and
Absolutely.
I'll be sharing this with City Council tonight.
awesome. Thank you.
Congratulations, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations.
You bet.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Gene. He did most of the work on the write-up, so. I don't have much.
Teamwork, you had a lot of interest there too, so.
I'll give credit where it's due. I don't have much for a department head update. We did get our second K-9 certified, up and running. That canine was a little bit of a different situation. We did a lease contract as it was the handler's own personal dog that actually had a very good drive, and we decided it would save quite a bit of money to the county. To buy a dog is normally between $10,000 and $15,000, and the handler, we just leased it from him for free of charge, but it's a lease agreement that we have currently with him. We're still paying for all the training and stuff that has to go into that dog, but it'll save us a lot of money, and it is certified up and running. So we are full staffed. Last meeting, you guys went ahead and approved Michael Brooks as a hire. I couldn't make it that day, but he was a Audubon County deputy for 6.5 years. So he's not new to the law enforcement field, but he is new to Shelby County. Great guy, great fit, and I assume within the next couple weeks we'll have him out and about on his own patrolling. So staffing hasn't been a problem there, knock on wood. But yeah, everything else is going smooth. We're full staffed in the jail as well. Maybe down to one right now, but they are taking, we have it limited to, or narrowed down to 2 people, so we'll fill that position here shortly. Yeah, I think other than that, we've been pretty much
Speak to
satisfied.
the therapy dog a little bit.
So yeah, that's kind of an EMA thing a little bit that they're trying to enact. So the emergency management's they're doing a very good job. Dakota, who works up there in dispatch, has offered her dog up as a therapy dog. And she has offered to go ahead and get all the training required, so on and so forth, for the county. And basically what a therapy dog does is, it can go into your schools, it can go into your elderly homes, it can help people in times of crisis, just as something else to maybe take your mind off of it or to soothe it a little bit. We have had them come in before for our agency from the state. The state has a therapy dog, but there's nobody local that really has one. So we've been working amongst the EMA meetings. Bryce is on the board, so I look at him as well a little bit, trying to fine tune the policy, procedures. Cost, I think, is very minimal of what it's actually going to cost us, because like I said, she has the dog and is willing to get the training. So at that point, you're just paying for the food. But we're just trying to work some things out. We looked at possibly using the lease agreement that I used with the canine, and so that the handler was guaranteed to always own the dog. If something fell through or something happened, it was always the handler's dog. It was never, well, it's the county's possession, it's our property per se. So we wanted to kind of avoid that. So we're looking at that route as well. But yeah, I think it'd be a good program, and I really think Dakota has put a lot of time and effort of her own into this to see it through. And with that knowledge, I don't know why she won't see it through the rest of the way. So
It's a great program.
yeah.
Happy that she's willing to do that.
Yeah, the only issue, not even an issue, but a problem, I think it might get utilized too often around us, and then we just got to figure out how to cover Dakota and dispatch a little bit. But, I mean, if that's the biggest problem.
A good problem, right?
Yeah, correct. So, as far as sheriff's office goes, we're still busy. We're still in the middle of a camera install that Kyle's been speaking to you guys a little bit about. They are just installed the last 2. They got them done this week, right? They're done.
One, had to reorder one.
Down at the EMS building, we now have cameras on that building as well. It's kind of nice, they all intersync together. So that was kind of neat to work on a project such as that, and maybe we can continue to build off of that foundation that we've now established. So we did some awards last week to a couple individuals from dispatch, as well as a couple from the jail and the IT department, as the camera company was there doing an install. There was an individual who suffered a major life-threatening incident, a heart failure within dispatch center, and our current dispatcher was Glenn Burks in Dakota, and they jumped right into action, as well as our jailer and our IT director, and went ahead and did just start CPR and use the AED and did shock the individual and bring him back.
That's good.
And was transported to the hospital by our EMS service for the county. So we did go ahead as the sheriff's office and award those 4 members that were involved in saving that life. So, and he had, I can't think of his first name, it's escaped me, but he came back and was there to greet all of them as well, doing well and back to work.
Awesome, that's very good.
Yeah,
Amazing.
yeah.
Okay.
But that's all I've got. You guys got any questions for me?
Nice report.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good when we talk about good things, yeah. We're still busier than ever in the jail, but we're doing what we got.
Nature's a beast.
Yep, it is. So thank you guys.
Okay, thanks, Nate.
Appreciate it.
Any other department heads?
I have a beaver bounty update. The money's gone, so
Okay.
there's 2 or 3 weeks of season yet, so we did what we could do.
The extra's going.
Yes, it is.
Man, I can't
I
believe
know I
there's that
signed
many
a
out there.
lot of
Yeah, it's amazing. Like I said,
Wow.
the season goes till April 15th.
Right.
So.
We did a couple of things.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, we met at MAPPA, and we got $275,000 for Shelby County Trails.
How much?
$275,000,
Oh, great.
and Gina and I did that. And that was voted on and approved. Also, last Thursday at SWPCO, we had ribbon cutting there where they had built on the SWPCO building, a new office space, which is very nice. So that's my report for that.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have anything else, Bryce?
Nope.
Really, the only thing I don't have anything on the pipeline, nothing's changed there. I'm gonna give just a real brief summary. Yesterday, we had our public hearing for our budget. And I'm going over this because there was no media there yesterday, and I want to be transparent. We went over our budget. There were 5 people from the public in attendance. And really 100% of the questions they had about our budget was about the mailing that they received. And of course, our yesterday's meeting has been in the paper. The notice date was in there. It was on the flyer. We went over because there's a lot of confusion on the flyer and how it doesn't really represent. It represents the levy, but not the actual taxable value on the budget. And we explained that this form was set up by the state. The computer fills in the blanks, says nothing about us, and then we went over our budget, where it's going to be. We're going to be having another public hearing when we approve the budget, but it seemed like everybody walked away. Their questions were answered, very complimentary. So it went very well yesterday. So, Taryn, do you have anything to add to that? She did a great job explaining a lot of things within our budget, and of course the annex building was part of that, or we're using the sale of that for capital projects instead of raising taxes for it. So no, everything went very well. Todd Lean, Shelby County Chamber report.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning there, Mr. Todd.
So, just some things to take note of date-wise, and then I do have one announcement that I received this morning to let the public know about. This Friday at Milk and Honey, the Harlan Lion Club is having a super jazzy evening. So, it's basically going to be a soup supper that's going to be served from 5:30 to 7:30. And Doug, and I hope I'm pronouncing Doug's last name correctly, Wrinkley, did some exclusive soup bowls that they're going to be auctioning off during this event. And then finally, the high school jazz combo will provide jazz music from 5:30 to 7:30. And all of this is a free will donation for the meal, or silent auction for the soup bowls. And all the money's going to support the middle school's backpack food program. So, really good cause to go out and have some soup and enjoy the evening. Next week is National Library Week. We have a fantastic libraries, here in Shelby County, so we're going to be visiting all 3. The first will be on this Friday at 2 o'clock. We'll go to the Lyde Irwin Public Library. Then next Monday at 2 o'clock, we'll be at the Elkhorn Public Library. And then finally on Wednesday, April 10th at 10:30, we'll be here in Harlan. But we're going to go and have an ambassador visit at all 3 of the libraries to celebrate the National Library Week. And then you guys want to have some fun on Wednesday, April 24th from 11:30 to 12:30. We'll have our Fun China Luncheon. So that's our annual lunch that we have on Administrative Assistance Day. It'll be at the Harlan Country Club. It's $20 per person. And we have a bunch of different individuals and groups that are decorating the tables. And we, a couple of years ago, came up with a traveling trophy and have been very surprised as to how coveted that traveling trophy is. So, so if you'd like to come, just give us a call and we'll get you a seat reservation. Saturday, April 20th, so shortly after tax season. You can take all that paperwork that you have built up down to Shelby County State Bank from 9 to 11 at their West Branch location, and they have a free shred day. So, yeah, get all that stuff out of your files and out of your house. And then finally, I got a notice from our local Small Business Development Center. I just took it right as he wrote it. He said there's a new scam that's going around. They're using America's SBDC and SBA logos, and then they're contacting small businesses and trying to fish for some information from those businesses. Things like bank accounts and contacts. And what they do is they make it sound like the SBDC can get you a small business administration loan, and that's not true, but that's how they try to fish for the information. So, first of all, our Small Business Development Center, our contacts are out of Council Bluffs. They're out of the Iowa Western. If you're getting reached out to by people from other areas of the country, that's probably a scam. And just want people to be careful, as we're going into this part of the year where they're looking at their taxes and thinking maybe I could use a loan. And I'm sure that's why this is happening at this time. But yeah, because it sounds like they're pretty sophisticated in how they're doing it. So
I had a phony one from USPS, it said, and I had a package somewhere with no address on it.
oh yeah,
I
yeah,
wanted my address.
yeah.
It wasn't hard to figure that one out.
No, but we're getting into the season again where this type of stuff's gonna be popping up. So I'm glad they sent us the notice. And I'll keep sharing it with as many groups as I can, just to let them know. Other than that, that's it.
Okay.
For today.
Okay, Todd. Thanks. Secondary road report, Chris?
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Chris.
How are we today?
Good.
Good.
Probably better than you, huh?
Now, just a quick couple of things here. It's been a couple of busy weeks. F-24 paving from London to Irwin did begin. They're rubbleizing, so there is areas that are just covered with rock right now. So if anybody local does have to get through there, please be careful. And I think overall traffic has been mindful of the detour, it seems. So I'm glad about that, and hopefully everybody will keep on working with us, and we'll get through this. Supposed to lay asphalt today. We'll see with the rain, if the rain stops. Bridge inspections, I did get
Can I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
On the Irwin Road, like, how many working days will it take to do that? Working days?
It just really depends on the weather and what we've got going. Last week, they only ended up with 3 actual working days out of the week. So,
What was it set up to be? I mean,
overall, the whole entire project was set up to be 100 working days, and that's based on the DOT. Originally, I'd hoped for
so we 10%
weeks.
into it or something?
At the most, probably, by the time you figure we pull the rain days out.
No, I'm just
So-
curious, because I've had people ask, like, how long
Sure.
it's gonna take.
Sure. I'm hoping if they can go today, tomorrow, Thursday, Friday, the first lift of asphalt should be fairly close to Irwin. So that would be the entire 6
How
miles.
many lifts?
There is 2 lifts.
2 lifts.
There's an intermediate and then there's a surface. And the surface should go quicker. It's only 2 inches thick rather than 3. So
That's the same thing they did on 59?
it's a different process, but it'd be the same idea. Different asphalt type. That was a high pro on their surface, but
Is the highway gonna be a little wider than it was?
it will be 11-foot lanes instead of 10.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So we did add a foot to the outside.
Wow.
So that should help a little bit also. It was a narrow stretch.
Yeah.
So we'll see how the week plays, but hopefully they can get at least the part that's rubbleized and rocked. Hopefully we can get most of that covered up. Would be ideal. Anything else on Irwin? Should
No,
ask
no.
before. No, that's okay. Bridge inspections, we have started that. I did get Danny Art to come back. He's a wealth of knowledge, so
Yep.
that's helpful to me. So we've been running, we ran both last Saturday and the Saturday before also, so.
You probably learned some history on them bridges,
Yeah.
don't you?
I'm sure.
Which is nice to, yeah, it's nice to have. He has all the knowledge in his head, and
Yep.
he worked with them for a lot of years, so.
Yep.
We have roughly 50 of them, I think, are done. There's close to 90, I believe, this cycle.
Any
So
bad surprises?
remarkably not.
Okay.
We even
I
spoke
don't
about
want to
that.
jinx it here.
No, we even spoke about that going through it. I said, we haven't even found anything. He said, no, this is great. So
Yeah.
we'll
Okay.
keep picking away at those as we can. And just a couple of updates as far as what's happening in the yard. The bridge crew did go out yesterday. They hauled equipment out, and today they hauled the crane out. We're going to start working on the bridge on 1100th west of Ginkgo. There is a runaround that's been in all winter there, so.
What's on here?
Yeah, no change as far as people in and out, but they are going to start tearing the bridge out. We wanted to wait till the weather
What goes back in?
was good. It'll be another
For the
bridge,
bridge?
2-span.
Okay.
So hopefully that should take off and fly well here, depending on the spring again, what kind of weather we can get.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're still out rocking spots, blading as we can, general maintenance, things like that. Both excavators are out. One is going to, I think, Redwood south of 44, I believe, to tear out a culvert. And the other's down by the Elkhorn Park, taking a snow trap out. So.
Okay.
Did somebody tell you about the rock out to the landfill?
No.
I had 2 calls complaining about rock on the roads.
Okay.
Yeah, needed rock.
Okay.
And I know of that hill there on the side.
Yes. It gets pounded
Yeah.
pretty hard. A lot of trucks run over it, so. Other than that, that's just a real quick update. I'm headed out to
Okay.
watch them pave, so.
Okay. Why don't you just stay there just a minute, because
Okay.
the next one relates to Shelby, to secondary roads. We have a memorandum of understanding for secondary roads, union approval. Really, it's probably been an on and off issue over the past year, where there's been some clarity needed with the union contract. This is in its final year. And Mike Galloway and myself, but it's mostly been Mike, have had in communication and worked out this memorandum of understanding with the steward from the secondary roads. And here's Mike's summary of what's in that package. The maximum wage rates resembles EMA and Sheriff's Department because they were steps that had actual salaries in there, and then when we had the performance evaluations, if employees did get that, they didn't get their true 5-year, 10-year step, and we as a board understood that, but we needed to make some changes, so we got away from those defined steps into a salary range that's been working well, like I said, for the sheriffs and the EMA. This contract will be open for negotiations this fall, so we're getting into our 3rd year starting July 1, so this fall all 3 unions will be going back together and we'll be negotiating for a new contract. With this new language, all employees will receive a 3%, just like all regular employees do on July 1st. And then all employees will be eligible, instead of that defined step, they'll be eligible for up to a 3% merit step in January, based again on a performance evaluation, and that step range will be determined by the engineer. Okay. Same as the other 2 contracts are. Another issue that we hope helps Chris is comp time before in the union contract was capped at I think 36 or 40 hours, but it had to be used before July 1st, which created a mad dash to people to get their comp time done, and he doesn't want at a busy time of the year that much going on, and so we're allowing people to carry 40 hours of comp time that they can work down throughout the year. And that's really the same as a lot of the other ones added. I don't know why it was ever that way. So really what you're seeing here is more clarification, okay? We're not really adding anything to it, and the union has already signed off on it. If you guys are good with that, Chris good with that?
Yeah, that should work well.
Okay.
Good move.
Yep. So do I have a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding for secondary roads contract?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. You need to get back to your road.
You need a
All right,
copy?
thank you. I have it.
Yeah.
Oh, a signed copy.
Okay.
Okay.
You can just email me one.
Okay, will do.
All right.
Thanks,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone.
Okay.
Yep. Next on the agenda is resolution to approve the budget hearing, publication, and date for fiscal year 2025. That will be April 23rd at the end of this month. Correct, Taryn? Do you have anything else to add to that?
No.
Okay, Mark, do you?
No, and you've all seen the publication.
Yep.
It was emailed to you, so.
Yep. Okay, pretty straightforward. Do I have a motion to approve the public hearing publication date of April 23rd, 2024?
Motion?
Motion by Bryce, second by Charlie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Resolution to approve the 2024 budget amendment hearing publication. Mark?
Yeah, it amounts to about $4,200 in tax dollars overspent. But we have to do it. But we have some departments that brought in money that offset tax dollars and some that overspent. And that's just, it's a necessary evil doing these amendments, just to keep us legal.
And what's the date for that?
I put it to May 7th, I'm sorry.
May 7th
Yeah, just to spread things out.
at 9 o'clock?
Yep. At a regular meeting. Yep. Give
Okay.
everybody plenty of time to get things published and it-
Is that when you want to go over the list then too?
yeah, I could do it now too. I
Okay.
do not care.
Well, let's do it now.
Okay. Risk management, insurance, $20,000. Medical examiner, the fees just keep going higher and higher and higher. I added $10,000. Next one, Board of Supervisors, some publications. We didn't get the billing for last year until this fiscal year,
Okay.
last July, and it's catching up to us. Jail, food and provisions, medical prisoner, $15,000, and that is just, in my terms, an insurance policy in case somebody would have a medical issue being a prisoner, and we'd have to pay for it, because that's getting pretty lean, the amount that we have budgeted right now. The meals for the prisoners, Kyle's talked to you about that before, is going up $20,000. Room and board prisoner, just $1,000. Miscellaneous, $1,000. Equipment purchase, $500. Supplies, $1,000. And training, $2,000. And like, it's just the numbers that they're keeping in the jail has caused all this. Environmental control, the beaver bounty increase, $2,000. And those were all the taxpayer funds right there for property taxes. The 28E agreement, there's 20,000 in and 20,000 out. It's just the way the accounting works. They cancel each other out. Jail room and board, this is not property taxes, this is money accumulated by the county over the years in the jail room and board fund, $45,000. And the next one, they got a water well expense grant. They plan on expending $100,500. Construction projects for secondary roads, $125. And the REAP program conservation is going to spend $3,000 more than expected. Incomes, board revenue, medical examiner revenue. My administrative assistant, Angel Poor, about a year ago, just stumbled on we can bill back residents of other counties if they pass in Shelby County, and we can figure it out. We can bill them back, and they have to reimburse us for those costs. But we have to pay it initially. Juvenile court, we received $15,800, and I believe that was from capital, liquidating their capital fund. The jail revenues, about $8,000 up. GIS income was under budgeted by $9,000, 2 years ago. And building and grounds, farm and building rents is $21,000 over. Risk management, and that's refunds for MWCA, what is that? Workman's comp. Couldn't think of workman's comp. TIF revenue, $1,000, and small towns, the law enforcement fees that they pay, we're gonna be about $5,000 over on that.
Over meaning excess.
Excess, yeah, we'll bring in 5,000 more than we planned. And like I said, tax dollars, property tax dollars, it's about $4,200 in the negative with this amendment.
Okay. Okay, thanks for the update there.
Yeah, it's a lot of numbers.
Okay, so we'll go ahead. Do I have a motion to approve the May 7th hearing publication for budget amendments?
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Bryce, second by Charlie. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next on the agenda, building and grounds use authorization for the 2024 Relay for Life.
There hasn't been any problem on that.
No, it's just the annual Relay for Life event.
Any changes to it from the past?
No, they're insured, everything's covered that way, and I have absolutely no reservations in recommending that this be approved.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Motion by Charlie, second by Bryce to approve the building and grounds authorization for the Relay for Life for this year. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next on the agenda, authorize the chairperson to sign representation letter for the 2023 audit.
Yeah, and that's just the standard representation letter, no big deal, but the other guys should authorize you to do it.
There he is too. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the chairperson sign the representation letter for our 23 audit?
Motion?
Second.
Motion by Bryce, second by Charlie.
Morning.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay, fiscal year 2023 audit report. Mr. Chris Nelson, how are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you
Good to
guys?
see you.
Good to see you. Wish you could rest. Here's the press
Thank you.
release.
Staying ahead of the game?
No,
Oh, he's trying us.
no,
This
it's,
is for Chris, so we can take it for you.
Okay.
that's all right. We'll keep plugging away. So if you turn in a few pages, we'll go through the, just summarize the end of the year fiscal year 23 audit and touch on some of the highlights. Turn into the independent auditor's report, which is labeled page 2.
Okay.
It goes about 3 pages, but really the important part, the opinion's a second paragraph. This is standard wording for unmodified opinions on your financial statements. That's what you're after. Means that the financial statements are fairly stated. Following the 3-page independent auditor's report is a report called Management Discussion and Analysis. I don't intend to go through it. It's about 5 pages long. It's required by government accounting standards to be included with the report, and it's a report that comes from you. We help you prepare it, but it comes from you. It tries to give information to readers of your financial statements. You know, those individuals that may not be as comfortable in looking at financial statements or reading the numbers, gives them information about the financial statements and what went on. So if you would turn past all of those, past the MD&A goes through like page 3F. So Exhibit A starts on page 4 on the left-hand side. This is the first of 3 sets of financial statements that are included to be required as part of your audited financial statements. Exhibits A and B are your full accrual financial statements. They include all funds of the county. This Exhibit A is the balance sheet, full accrual. It includes all capital assets, pension accounting, and all long-term debt. Just touch on a few things, starting on the left-hand side under your assets. Your cash ended the year $6,567,000. Your receivables, really nothing unusual. You know, the big number there succeeding your property tax receivable, $8,059,000. This is taxes that you've levied for the next fiscal year. They will actually be recognized as revenue next year when they are collected, so there's an offsetting deferred inflow of resources on the right-hand side. And as I mentioned, this includes capital assets, so capital assets that are not being depreciated, you know, basically land, $602,000, and capital assets that are being depreciated, which are shown net of accumulated depreciation, totaling $24,763,000. In total, your assets were $41,745,000. The deferred outflows of resources is related to the pension accounting. These are expenses that will be recognized in the future, $687,000. Your liabilities in total were $4,895,000. A couple items here, right in the middle there, the liabilities under revenues, $470,000. This is ARPA money that you had received as of the end of the year that you had not used yet. So they are shown as unearned. The current portion of your general obligation bonds, the principal portion that you're paying during fiscal year '24, $310,000. The long-term portion of your general obligation bonds, $970,000. Those mature in 2027, I believe. And then the pension accounting liability, net pension liability, $1,299,000. Last year, this was a net asset of just over $1 million. So we've talked before, this number is going to bounce around based on, you know, how investments do in the IPERS program. And it's really just here for disclosure. It's not a liability that you will pay. On the right-hand side, the deferred inflows of resources. Here's the unavailable property tax revenues and TIF revenues, as well as then the pension deferred inflows of $442,000. And that gets us to the net position for the end of the year, $28,851,000. This financial statement again shows, as it has in the past, that the county's financial statement's in a good financial position.
That's a good thing.
On page 6 is Exhibit B. This is the full accrual income statement. So it includes depreciation expense of about $2 million, but capital purchases are not expenditures. They were reported on the balance sheet and are depreciated. Excludes principal payments on debt, but it does include farm-to-market money that doesn't actually go through the county's books. Reading this financial statement, we start on the left-hand side. Your expenses for the year were $16,930,000, the far left column. And then the next three columns are program revenues that were received or earned for providing specific services or programs directly related to certain expenses. So the charges for service, $714,000. Operating income, $5,046,000. Most of that, the $4.4 million, is road use money. And capital grants of a little over $1 million. This is farm-to-market money that was used during the year. The far right-hand column then shows a negative $10,153,000. This number represents expenses of the county that were not covered by program-specific revenues. So you use general revenues, primarily property taxes, to pay for these expenses. You had general revenues of $9,722,000 and ended the year with a decrease in your net position of $431,000. This past year, your program revenues covered about 40% of your total expenses, and that's pretty similar to what prior years has been. On Exhibit C is starting the second set of financial statements on a modified accrual basis shown by your major funds. You have 5 major funds: the general fund, rural services, secondary roads, the American Rescue Plan, and your capital projects. So these funds are a little bit different. They do not include capital assets, they don't include long-term debt, and they don't include your pension accounting. Looking at the far right-hand side, in the middle of the page, your total assets, $15,831,000. You can see the general fund has the largest portion of that at $6.9 million, rural services $2.9 million, secondary roads $3.9 million, American Rescue Plan $482,000, and capital projects. Again, cash we saw earlier, $6 million. And the succeeding year property taxes of $8,059,000. Moving down the page, the liabilities in total were $1,982,000. Nothing unusual, just normal, operating payables of the county. Deferred inflows of resources, $8,427,000, primarily the unearned succeeding year property taxes. And then this continues on the next page to show your ending fund balances for each of the major funds. In total, $5,420,000. The general fund ended the year at $1,452,000. This is general and general supplemental are combined here. Rural services, $418,000. Secondary roads, $3.1 million, and capital projects, $280,000. So all those funds are in a good position. Page 9, Exhibit D, is just a reconciliation getting us from the previous page, the modified accrual basis fund balance, to the net position we saw on Exhibit A. You see the second line there, capital assets, $25,365,000 is the largest item in that reconciliation, as well as including the liabilities, the last one of $2.9 million. And on page 10, Exhibit E, is the modified accrual basis income statement by each major fund. Again, capital assets purchases here are included as expenditures, no depreciation expense. Farm to market monies don't run through the county's funds, so they are not included. No pension accounting, and the principal payment on your debt is reported as an expenditure. So we're looking at the revenues. They totaled $15,490,000. Again, the largest component of that is in the general fund of $6,179,000. Secondary roads at $4,685,000. Expenditures totaled $17,441,000. Of that, the general fund was $6,076,000. Secondary roads, $7,313,000, and capital projects, $1,741,000. The statement continues the next page. Other financing sources and uses includes the sale of capital assets as well as transfers between funds. You had $60,000 in the sale of capital assets. And that gets us down to the change in fund balances for the year. Overall, in total, was a decrease of $1,890,000. Looking at each major fund, the general fund actually increased almost $500,000. Rural services remained basically the same at a $32,000 increase. Secondary roads had a decrease of $445,000, and your capital projects fund had a decrease of $1,871,000. And then the next page is a reconciliation of the change in fund balance, the decrease of $1,890,000 that we saw just previously, to the decrease of $431,000 that we saw on Exhibit B, the full accrual. Again, the major changes are the accounting for capital assets and depreciation expense, as well as the pension accounting rules. And starting on page 13, Exhibit G is the third set of financial statements. This is for the internal service fund, the employee group fund, health fund that you have set aside. At the end of the year, you had cash on hand of $554,000, up a little bit from the prior year of $548,000. You have a few liabilities, getting of 7,000. The net position at the end of the year, 546,000. So a good position for your group health internal service fund.
I was gonna say, a couple pages back when you were on the page exhibit E, thanks for your help with last year. Did you see our general fund beginning balance was 953,000, and our goal is to get that back over $1 million to $1.5 million, and we were able to do that with everybody's cooperation with the department heads and everything. So, and also our rural services went up too, so we're doing well there.
Yeah.
We're staying within what we intended to do.
Yep, yep, it did turn out that way, yep. So looking on page 14, Exhibit H, this is the income statement for the Internal Service Fund. Total operating revenues, $93,000. Of that, $87,500 came from the county's funds. Operating expenses were $88,000. Medical claims just under $76,000, and some administrative fees of $12,000. Last year there was about $94,000 of expenses, but historically you've averaged right around $81,000. So, you know, right in that same level, and so the funding is appropriate, and you're maintaining a good position there. And page 15 is Exhibit I. It's just the cash flows. Doesn't show a lot of different information, but it shows the cash inflows and outflows for the Internal Service Fund. Primarily money coming in from the county's funds and payments going out for medical claims and administrative expenses. In net, it was an increase of cash at the end of the year, $6,600. And then pages 16 and 17, just here for informational, these are custodial funds. Left-hand side are assets that are held by the county at the end of the year to be dispersed to the various organizations. You receive money in one month and it's distributed in the next. And so these are just dollars and assets on hand or held at the end of the year for the benefit of others. Exhibit K on page 17 shows the activity that went through the county's books for those custodial funds. A little over $28 million that flowed through the county. Following Exhibit K are standard footnote disclosures. There really isn't anything new or unusual. Some supplementary information that are required to be included. What I would like you to turn back to is page 59. This is the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. Again, this is the second year in a row. It doesn't happen every year for you, but because of the ARPA money, being federal money that the county received and spent during the year, the total federal expenditures were $1,136,000. Anytime that gets over $750,000, your audit is also required to be performed in accordance with the Single Audit Act and uniform guidance. Basically, we're required to do additional compliance testing of how you used your major programs. Your major program was the ARPA funds. You spent $987,000 of those, and so we tested, as part of the audit, we tested the county's compliance with those requirements, and found no issues, no instances of non-compliance. So turning on past that, page 61 and 62 is the independent auditor's report on internal control and on compliance, required as part of government auditing standards. On the left-hand side is related to internal controls. Basically says we review your controls, not to give an opinion on them, but to help us determine what auditing steps we consider necessary. We did not identify any deficiencies in your internal controls. You have good controls in place. Always be aware that you're part of internal controls. Ask questions when you get financial information and be aware of what's going on. On page 62, under the top paragraph there, basically states that as part of the audit, we test compliance with laws, regulations, contracts that, if there would be that could have a material or direct impact on your financial statements. We did not identify any material noncompliance. We did identify certain instances of noncompliance that are immaterial and are required to be reported as part of your audit from the state auditor's office, and that's in section 4 that we'll touch on here in a minute. And starting on page 63 to 65 is the independent auditor's reports on compliance for your major program. The second paragraph is our opinion, and as I mentioned, in our opinion, the county was in compliance with all requirements of its major program that could have a direct and material effect during the year, so no issues were identified. Page 66 is just a summary page, and then the comments and findings start on page 67 through 69. You see part 2 and part 3 both say no matters were identified for internal controls or non-compliance. Part 4, these are items related to required statutory reporting items. There are 13 items listed, 2 of them are findings. The first one, finding, is the first 2023A for the certified budget. You did exceed the budget in capital projects function during the year. So obviously, the recommendation is to amend the budget prior to this happening. Items B through K on the next page are all positive comments. No issues were identified. And then on page 69, item L, related to economic development, you participate with the Shelby County Chamber of Commerce and Industry. This is here for disclosure and a reminder to you to continue to document and consider the public purpose that is served by this expenditure. And again, continue to document that in the minutes. Item M is the second finding. The Conservation Fund had a deficit balance at the end of the year. The recommendation is to investigate alternatives to eliminate the deficit, to return it to a sound financial position. I believe there's just a timing of when revenues were coming in to offset those expenditures.
Was that because of the credits?
No, it was because of a grant that didn't come in time before the end of the year. And so we had a bill
So then it's in the
that
next
counted
year.
against it. We didn't get the money till this year.
Yeah, because I was going to say kudos to all the department heads, because last year at this time, we had 3 departments that went outside their budget, and we made some internal changes there, and that did not happen this year. So, do you see any glaring red flags or anything?
No, we did not. No. Took us a little longer to get completed. Appreciate your patience, but
Looks like we're heading the right direction.
yeah,
Appreciate your help.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the fiscal report, monthly report? Motion by Charlie. Second by Bryce. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carried. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
Anybody else have anything? Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate it.
Thank you.